What if I were to tell you you can take a old Lenovo T450 laptop, something like this is about 10 years old, and turn it into a functioning home lab? You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars to buy rack mount servers, server rack, mini PCs. I think it's all really overkill. And what I want to do is create a series of videos to go back to the basics. To teach you, you don't need anything fancy like that. If you have 4 gigs of RAM and an SSD, that's more than enough to start learning and start building a home lab. So, without further ado, let's get Fedora installed onto this guy. All right, so I got the laptop set up in front of me, and I've put Fedora Linux on this USB drive here. So I'm going to go ahead and insert it, and let's get this party started. Okay, so I've got the laptop booted up with Fedora Linux. I had to do some stuff off camera just because my video card was not capturing the fact that it was booting up in the BIOS, but not lying. Here it is, Fedora Linux. Had to also mirror the display, but anyways, here we go. So I'm booted off the live image for Fedora. We're gonna go ahead and say let's install Fedora Linux, and let's go and follow through the on-screen instructions. Okay, this might take some time for this machine. It might be quicker on yours. Who knows? It might vary depending on the speed of your USB drive and kind of how old your device is. Okay, so at this point we're installing Fedora 42. At the very first window, we'll choose the language. So we'll go ahead and choose the language of your choice. In my case, I'm going to choose English. You can choose the keyboard layout. For me, I'm going to leave it default and use US. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Here, I'm going to choose the destination for the installation method. No disks have been selected. I did install a brand new 500 gigabyte Samsung SSD into the laptop earlier. If you don't see it, you can hit rescan devices. It's going to rescan and see what else is installed. Make sure you choose the device that you want to install to. The 16 gigabyte disk that's showing up as SDB is my USB drive. So if I choose that and I try to install, I'm going to override the USB drive, and the whole install process is going to be very confused. So make sure you choose the correct drive. Okay, I'm going to choose the 500 gigabyte disk, and I am going to use the entire disk for the installation. Next is the storage configuration. I am a firm believer for laptops, you should encrypt the data. This will prevent anyone from stealing your information. If you lose your laptop or it gets stolen, somebody can pull the drive out and they can read the partitions from your disk drive. So always want to encrypt your data. And this could be a little bit annoying, right? When you boot up your device, you have to put a password to unlock the drive, and then you pass your own credentials to log into your own account. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and encrypt my data because I value my privacy. And if I do log into my own accounts, I don't want somebody to have their hands on the credentials or the cookies or anything sensitive in that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and put some sort of password. Okay. And do that. And hit next. Here we can see what it's going to do. We're going to install Fedora 42. We're going to use English, use the entire disk drive. The target drive is SDA, 500 gigabytes. These are the partitions it's going to go ahead and create. A ext4 partition for /boot, 499 gigabytes with Btrfs. It's encrypted on /, and then same thing for /home. And that looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and say erase data and install. Now here you can go ahead and just watch this and stare at the screen if you want, or you can take the time to go outside, enjoy the sunshine, have a glass of coffee, up to you. This can take some time, maybe 15 minutes to an hour, depending on how big your drive is. Maybe you're using a hard drive, which I hope you're not. That can take a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and just pause the video here and resume once it's all done. It took me about 5 minutes. This is hopefully what you'll see at the end after it's done installing. I'm going to go ahead and say exit to live desktop. And then from here, I'm going to reboot my machine. And hopefully it boots up into Fedora. So we'll go through a reboot, say restart. Okay. Pull the USB drive out and hopefully we get there. Okay, here we go. So Fedora has been installed. I'm doing this weird thing where the video capture is not able to show the screen all in one, so I move the screen over. So if you see me looking off screen, that's why. Anyways, we're going to go through the out-of-box experience here for a new setup. We're going to leave the keyboard as is. We're going to go ahead and set up our Wi-Fi. Okay. Once we're connected, you'll see the little checkbox. Go next. It's up to you if you want to enable the location services and the automatic problem reporting. I go ahead and just turn it off. Go ahead and choose your time zone. You can go ahead and click on the map and go ahead and click next. Third-party repositories is up to you if you want to enable it. I just go ahead and enable it from the get-go because I'm probably going to enable it anyways. I'm going to hit next. Go ahead and give it some information about you. I'm going to go ahead and give it my name. Go ahead and set a password of your choice. And go ahead and confirm the password. Next. And you're all done. So you can go ahead and start using Fedora Linux. In this case, I am going to try and set up my display so it's mirroring. Hold on. Mirror. Keep changes. There we go. Okay. Now, this is kind of Fedora in a nutshell. You kind of just have a blank desktop. You can go up to the top left, click there. Here's your menu. Show your different apps that you have. You can press the super key or the Windows key on your keyboard. One of the things I'm going to set up here is a host name. You can go ahead and type host name. It'll be under settings and about. And I want to give it a host name because when it shows up on my network, I want to know what this thing is. So here we go. Set up a host name. And you can also see details about the endpoint that you are running Fedora on. Here you can see I'm running Fedora 42. I'm running this on a ThinkPad T450. This is the specs. That's the CPU, a Core i5, 16 gig RAM, 500 gig of hard drive space. Okay. So one of the first things we're going to set up is we'll bring up the terminal here. And we're going to go ahead and try and set up KVM. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to adjust everything so then they're easily viewable for you guys and for me. Profile, edit. Let's pick on. This looks fine. Line spacing. Let's pick on the size. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to first do is we're going to try and view all of the packages that's needed for virtualization. The first thing you can do is run this command called dnf group info virtualization. And what it's going to do, it's going to go out, check to see what packages are relevant for virtualization. You'll see it's going to start updating its repositories. And here you can see the group virtualization is here. There's the name. Here's the description. Here's the repos that it's looking at. It's going to install virt install. Here's all the different default packages it's going to install. And then here are the optional packages that you can opt in to install. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to say DNF install, and I will say at virtualization. But before you do that, you have to run sudo. So run sudo, pass your credentials in. Oops. If I know how to type, there we go. And we're going to go ahead and install the virtualization packages. As that's installing, what I'm going to do is bring up Firefox, and we're going to download an ISO image of some sort. We'll download, let's call it Ubuntu. Let's do Parrot OS. Let's download an image, a live image for security. Download. Oh. AMD 64, download. Okay, so that'll start downloading in the background as this starts to download here. Timeout. What happened here? Okay. Timeout reach for some repo. Eggy crew for some NVIDIA drivers. Okay. Okay, we got a minute left. All right. That's fine. What we'll do next is we're going to go ahead and install or start libvirt services. So in order to do that, we're going to run sudo system control start libvirtd. Run that. Should be running. And then we also want to ensure that this is going to run during boot up. So whenever the system boots up, we want to make sure it's enabled. So we'll run system control enable libvirtd. Okay. Next, we can go ahead and take a look at the networking. VI RSH net dash list dash dash all, and we can see here that there's no networking configured right now. So what we can do is we can use the defaults from a template, and I believe the template is in user share libvirt networks default. There it is. So what this XML file declares is we have a default network that will call the bridge name as virtual bridge 0 with the IP address of 192.168.122.1/24. And we will also give out a DHCP range as well. Okay. What we'll do here is we'll use this template and we'll define our network. So we can use the same command, virsh net define, and let's use this same XML file to define it. Okay, you can see here now that the network has been defined from that XML file, and then we're going to run virsh net auto start default. Okay, now we've started as default, and then we're going to run virsh net start default. Okay, looks like it's already in use right now, so we can run the same command dash dash all, and here you can see we have default network. It's in an inactive state, but auto start is on and it's persistent. So at this point, what we can do is we can also look at the bridge interface. We can run something like brctl show, which isn't installed yet since this is a freshly installed machine. So let's go ahead and install it. So this is the bridge utility. Okay, here you can see that bridge 0 is up and running. Okay, I'll run it again. There you go. Now, after everything got installed, we should now have Virtual Manager. Virtual Manager? No, Virtual Manager is not installed. So what we can do is we can install Virtual Machine Manager. We can go ahead and install this if you want. You can do this from the software repository store, or you can do this through command line. I'm just going to do this here since I'm already here. We'll get it installed. This will give you a nice UI on managing your virtual machines instead of doing this through the command line prompt. That's very good if you want to run this in a headless state, right, where you only have SSH access. But because of this home lab, we're running everything on this laptop. We're hands-on on the laptop. You might as well just have Virtual Machine Manager running. So as that's installing, our OS should be, or our ISO is downloaded. Perfect. We'll wait for this guy to install. Once this is operational, we'll go ahead and create our first virtual machine on this laptop and ensure that it can reach out to the internet. So as this is downloading, I'm going to go ahead and pause this video for now and continue once it's all done. And we're done. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this up. And we can close that. Okay, so could not detect a default hypervisor. Make sure it's installed, blah, blah, blah. Let's go to File, Add Connection. This will be a local host. So let's see. Okay, now we're connected to the local host itself. What you can do here is we can go ahead and create a new virtual machine. We can run through the wizard. Here you can see the connections to QEMU or /KVM. This is on the local machine. We're going to use a local installed media, which is the ISO image that we've just downloaded. We're going to go ahead and choose that ISO image. When you click Browse, you're going to see this this window here. It's empty at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll hit Browse Local in the bottom and go ahead and go to your Downloads folder and choose the ISO image that you just downloaded. Most of the operating systems will get automatically detected. I'm using Parrot OS, which it doesn't look like it's being detected. So I'm just going to say Parrot. It doesn't understand what it is, so just say generic Linux and hit forward. Go ahead and give it some sort of RAM. I'm going to leave it default at 4 gigabytes RAM and 2 vCPU. We'll hit forward. We'll carve out a 25 gigabyte storage allocation for this virtual machine, and we'll hit forward. Give it a name. I'm going to call it Parrot OS. And for network selection, what we're going to do is we're going to say virtual network default out to NAT, okay? And hit finish. It's going to go ahead and try to install everything, and permission denied on the file. So you can see here, internal process exited, blah, 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 file name, blah, blah, blah. Could not open this. Permission denied. And I wonder why. Okay, let's go back. Okay, I figured out the problem. I was out of date with a lot of the packages, so I had to reinstall or do a DNF update. And then I realized all those errors earlier, the virtual machine packager or virtual machine manager didn't install correctly. So I installed it from the software repository. I shouldn't have done that. I went back, reinstalled everything, and then now we're good. So we're going to go ahead and go through the same steps. We're going to go through install from ISO. I will choose this guy, generic, forward, and parrot. And here we go. Okay, so we'll go ahead and say try/install, and we should be able to get into Parrot OS. Once you actually click in here, if you try to get out, you want to press super and escape, and then you can get out of the guest virtual machine. Okay. Let this guy come back online. Takes a while. And here we go. We have Parrot OS running inside KVM on this Fedora machine. Bring up a terminal. We can ping out. Perfect. We can go ahead and install and run this locally on here. So I'm not going to go ahead and install this. That pretty much concludes what I wanted to show for this first video. Taking a capable machine like this that costs less than $200 and getting a operating system installed, getting KVM set up, and get to a point where you can start installing virtual machines. Okay, with that, thanks for watching.